Hi, I'm Stuart and welcome to the channel. Well, we had a lovely hot summer here in the north of England, so much so that it caused drought conditions. But now it seems to have changed and we've got a lot of cold and rainy weather. I'm still hopeful of getting out sometime before Christmas, but for the moment we're stuck in the garage. So my thoughts were starting to turn to what we can do with Rita and our winter projects. Now, one of the issues with Rita is the suspension is very crude and basic, built down to a price. The front forks are 38mm Paolis, and a lot of trials bikes of the time use them, but these are unadjustable and not able to be changed much at all. Even the spring rate, I can't get a replacement set of springs for it. So if we're going to do anything to it, we're going to need to move to one of the better sets of Paoli 38mm. I say lots of trials bike use them around this period, and most of them have damping control and changeable springs. So I think we'll look for a set of those to graft onto the front of Rita. Once we do that, of course, it's going to show up the ollie shock at the back as again being very crude and poor quality. So I think we need to upgrade that to a better quality shock to try and match the improvement we're going to make to the front. I think over this winter we'll also have a look at this seat. The cover on it is now cracked and splitting, and it's always been really uncomfortable. So I think while the bike's apart, we'll get this off and send it to a local upholsterer for a new cover and maybe some different quality foam underneath there. So Santa Claus has been and he's brought me some new presents. He's brought me a wheel off a Sherco and he's brought me a matching brake caliper. Now the condition of this is very good, the spokes are good, and it's an improvement over the old ones because it's actually got a floating disc. Now we're going to recondition all of this, but before we're going to do that we're going to do a test fitting. Now when you get the wheel, I was very lucky that they actually sent me the spacer that comes with it, because that will decide the offset to match up with the brake caliper then. So if you do order a wheel and or a spindle, make sure you get the appropriate spacer that goes with the wheel that you're going to be putting in. Now this may be one of those jobs where we need 11 hands to do it. We're going to start off by actually bolting on the mudguard spacer just to get the forks aligned. Right, that's given some sort of support to them. Now we can start putting the wheel in. Now when you get a wheel, make sure that the axle and the wheel go together, because there are varying sizes even in Sherco. So this is a 20mm axle and I've got 20mm bearings in the wheel. So I'll get that all lined up. Now as we tighten the spindle in, this fatter end of the spindle here will pull against the bearings on this side and squeeze up against the spacer on that side. And hopefully everything fits. There we go. So that's tightened up there. I'm just looking there, the centre line of this of the tyre is in line with the centre line of the mudguard brace, and we're all tightened up there. So that's looking good. Everything's looking like it aligns nicely. Let's put the disc brake on. So this is a simple 2-pot AJP caliper, common to hundreds of different models of bikes. If we line that up, remember when you get the caliper, you'll need the caliper mounting bolts as well. And make sure they're thrown in when you buy it. And the lower one. And that's all lining up beautifully. Wheel moves. Disc is equidistant in the centre of the caliper. Perfect. So now we'll pull it apart again, strip these components down and rebuild them. The wheel did come with a Pirelli on it, but the sides were all cracked, so it's definitely seen the last of its action. So once it's all apart, we'll get a new tyre put on it as well. Good. Right, we're going to start reconditioning this brake caliper. For a start, I've given it a good clean, but you can't get to the inside on these. We need to split the caliper. Right, we're going to start by taking away the bleed nipple and the hose connector. And then the brake pads are held in by these strange little clips. It's very common on AJPs to use these. We should just be able to push the pins out. They're always a nightmare to get out. There we go. And the other one. And then the pads should come out. Now these look to be in pretty good condition, but these are a standard pad for the AJPs, and we've got those already in stock, so we'll clean those up and see if they'll reuse. Right, next comes the splitting the caliper, and then we'll be able to have a look at how the pistons look. Now when we split the caliper, we have to watch out, there's an O-ring inside, we don't want to lose that. Once this one bolt is removed, the other bolts are actually part of the mounting system, so they come off when you take it off the fork leg. There we go. Don't lose the washer off it. And there is the small O-ring that we need to save. Right, let's see if we can get these pistons out and examine the bores. And we have this special tool here which will help us to actually get these pistons out. The ideal way is that you blow them out while the brake caliper is actually on the bike, but that's not an option for us, so we'll have to try and use this. I have to say it's very rare that it works. It's got two knurled pads at the end there, and the idea is that when we squeeze the handles in, it grips the outside, and we can then lock it into place inside the caliper. And with a bit of luck, we can just ease that piston out. This is going to take a while, so I'll come back when I've got it off. So the idea is that we work this backwards and forwards while we pull on the piston. That is coming out. And there we go. Whew. About 5 minutes of heaving on it, so not too bad. Now we'll be able to examine the pistons, see what condition they're in, and decide whether we need new ones, and measure them up for the seals. I have to say they're in overall very good condition. There's no rust on them. Definitely reusable, but we will put new seals into it. So the seal is a rubber band that sits in a groove inside the piston there, inside the caliper body. So we'll just get a pick and get that out. We want to get the rubber out, but we don't want to damage or score the bore at all. There we go. So that's the seal. We'll get that measured and get some new ones of those. Right, next caliper to go. Right, that's the second piston out, and it looks in pretty good condition again. So I don't think we need new pistons, but we'll put some new seals into it. Very good. Right, so that's the calipers apart. Just clean up some gunk from the inside now, make sure there's no corrosion in the grooves, and then we're ready to start rebuilding. Right, we've measured up the bore. Just go get some spare parts now. Right, it's time to reassemble the brake caliper, and I've got all the pieces out, cleaned and ready to go. I've also set up my close-up camera so you can get a better view of what's going on. So what have we got here in front of us? First of all, the actual brake pads. There's plenty of meat left on these. I've given them a polish down on a flat surface and then cleaned it with brake cleaner to make sure there's no contamination on the surface, and they look good to go. Then I've replaced all of the screws with stainless steel options, just so they'll keep looking better for a longer period. Next I got a new bleed nipple. This is actually a titanium one, so it weighs absolutely nothing, but not very expensive. The copper washers, I've re-annealed them and polished them so they're flat. And then I've got this kit here for the rebuild kit for the caliper. Now this actually comes with the seals that I need, but it also comes with new pistons. I would not use these pistons. I've had them before and they're terrible. And the reason that they're terrible is this. If we compare them to the old ones, this is a magnetic probe. The old ones are non-magnetic stainless steel. These ones are just plain steel, and as soon as you put them in there, they rust to hell. So those can go straight into the bin. The other thing that comes into the kit is a rubber seal that goes in the center here. Now if we compare it to the old seal, you can see it's nothing like the right size. So I've ordered some 4.5 by 2 nitrile rubber seals. So that will go into this recess that goes between the two halves of the caliper. So again, that seal can go in the rubbish box. And finally, we've got the brake clips, brake pad clips. These came out of the old one and they're fine. Right, so I think we have everything we need. Let's get back on with putting it back together. Right, the first thing we're going to do is actually put the new seals in. Now, the important thing with these seals is to look at the edge of them and ask if they're square or if they've got an angle to them. Now, these are square, so they will go in either way up. If they've got an angle on them, then you have to get that the right way round. But I say these are square, so it doesn't matter to us which way they go. So I'm going to start by just popping those into the grooves inside the caliper. Very fiddly to get into place, these things. Once you've got them in, they'll sit nicely into the groove. Let's do the next one. Make sure it's seated all the way in. All good. Right, for the next job, we're actually going to put the pistons in, and we'll need to lubricate this new rubber seal to make sure the piston slides in easily. Now, don't lubricate it with anything other than brake fluid. If you put any oil on these, they'll swell up and jam against the sides of the piston, and your brakes won't work anymore. So we've just got a little bit of brake fluid here. Just give it a little wet around the inside. Make sure you get your piston nice and square. Just gently slide it in. If you meet any resistance, then stop and go back, because you don't want to be pushing the seal out of place. Make sure you go down nice and level, pushing it evenly on all sides. It will be quite stiff, but it should move smoothly in. When we're finished, it sits flush like that with the surface. That's good. Right, do the same again with the second one. Again, lubricated with some brake fluid. If you nice even pressure should push it in there. If you happen to force it in, stop, take it all apart and have a look and see why. It may be that you've got the angled type of seal, so that pushed in with finger pressure. So don't force it with anything mechanical. If it won't go in with finger pressure, there's probably something that's wrong. Right, on to the next bit. Next stage is to put the small seal between the two halves. Make sure that's sitting into its indent. There should be a squash fit into there, because you don't want it sticking out between the halves. Now I've got everything wet, it won't stick in there. Try again. There we go. So that is sitting into the groove, but is also slightly proud of it, so that when the two halves go together, it'll be sealed up. Which is what we do next. And I'm going to put some Loctite onto this, because I don't want the two halves of the caliper coming apart. A little bit much there. We put this bolt in just to make sure the two halves are lined up before we tighten it down. Getting good and tight. Looking good. Right, next we'll put the brake pads in. Put the face to face so we don't contaminate anything. Slide them in. And then these little pins, just slide through the holes to lock them in place. That's it. Right, do the second side. I think the secret is that where this little hook is, to remember which side that is on, and push that down so that it compresses. I can get it to you. So it compresses that to a point, and then it should go through. But they are very fiddly, these things. There we go. That one goes straight in. All good. So I say the pads have got some life left in them, so we might as well reuse them. Right, just put on the bleed nipple now. Obviously we're not going to fill it full of fluid yet, so we'll just put that in there until it's ready to go. So there we have it, all put back together. The final job will be to actually mount it onto the bike. We'll put these screws in here when we get around to that. Another job done. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and that's all from me. Until the next time.